It all started with a knock, a hard, angry knock at the door, like someone trying to break in. It was a Sunday afternoon. The Johnsons had just moved in, a quiet black family, hard-working, honest, just trying to start over. They'd saved for years to buy that house. A house in a mostly white neighborhood, suburban, peaceful. Until now, Mama Johnson opened the door. Her smile faded fast. It was the neighbor, Mrs. Carolyn, an older white woman, tight bun, tighter mouth, frowning like the Johnsons ruined her life. "You people don't belong here," she snapped. Mama was stunned. She held her son close, 8 years old, terrified already. "We pay our mortgage just like you," Mama replied. But Mrs. Carolyn wasn't there for conversation. She pointed at the boy's toy. "A Nerf gun. That looks like a real weapon," she yelled. Mama blinked. It was blue and orange plastic, not even close to real. "You're threatening this neighborhood," Carolyn screamed. Then she stormed off. They thought it was over, but it was just beginning. 20 minutes later, sirens flashing lights. 2 squad cars pulled up, guns already drawn. Mama screamed, "Don't shoot! He's a child!" The boy dropped his toy and cried, but the officers weren't listening. They were barking orders, hands up, face down, like they were hunting criminals. Mr. Johnson rushed out, still in his church clothes. He tried to explain, "We just moved in. That's my wife. That's my son." The officers didn't care. One shoved him against the wall, handcuffed, no questions asked. The boy was shaking. Mama held him tight. The whole street was watching, neighbors peeking through blinds, phones recording, but no one helped. No one said a word, not even when the boy whispered, "Are they gonna shoot Daddy?" That night, social media exploded. Someone leaked the footage. People were outraged, but Mrs. Carolyn doubled down. She told reporters she feared for her life, that she saw suspicious behavior, that the boy looked dangerous. He was eight years old, wearing SpongeBob slippers, eating a popsicle. America was divided. Some called it racism. Others called it neighborhood watch. The Johnsons were traumatized. The boy stopped talking, stopped playing. He wet the bed every night. Mr. Johnson lost his job. Too many headlines, too much bad attention. But Mama fought back. She filed a complaint. Hired a lawyer, demanded body cam footage. The police tried to hide it, said it was under investigation, but a whistleblower leaked it. And the truth was worse than anyone imagined. The cops were laughing, mocking the boy's cries, calling the parents loud, joking about another black sob story. The nation erupted. Even the mayor had to speak. This behavior does not reflect our values, but words didn't fix the damage. The Johnsons were still broken, still afraid, still marked. One night, someone spray-painted "Go back to the ghetto" on their garage. Mrs. Carolyn claimed she had no idea who did it, but the cameras told a different story, a shadow short limping, matching her exact frame. Still, the police said it wasn't enough. Not clear, not confirmed. They closed the case again. The Johnsons installed cameras, alarms, motion lights, but fear lived in their walls now. They were prisoners in their own home, until one morning the twist, a new neighbor moved in. Young white, a lawyer, his name was Ethan. He introduced himself politely. He saw the scars on the house. He heard the whispers. He did some digging. He found something shocking. Mrs. Carolyn wasn't just a neighbor. She was a retired dispatcher for the same police department in the responding officers. Her son and her nephew. That's why they came so fast. That's why they didn't ask questions. That's why Mr. Johnson was treated like a thug. Ethan documented everything. He connected the dots. Then he called Mama, told her what he found. She cried for the first time in weeks, not from fear, but from relief. Ethan filed a federal complaint, corruption, abuse of power, civil rights violation. The news exploded again, this time, louder, wider. The city was under fire. The police chief tried to deny it, but the receipts were too strong, too detailed, too damning. Mrs. Carolyn disappeared overnight, packed up, moved out, no goodbye, no apology, just silence. But justice had started to roll. The 2 officers were suspended. An internal investigation launched, public pressure, mounted rallies outside City Hall. Justice for the Johnsons. The boy smiled again, just once, but it was a start. Mama got a call. The DA wanted to talk about charges, about accountability, about change. But just when hope started rising, a rock smashed through their window. A note attached 4 words, Should have stayed out. The handwriting was familiar. Shaky old Mrs. Carolyn's, but she was gone. Or was she? The police refused to investigate, again called it random. But Ethan wasn't buying it. He pulled the footage, and what he saw chilled his bones a shadow. A limp, a woman in a hoodie driving a silver sedan registered in her name. So why did the police say she was gone? Why were they covering again? Ethan warned the Johnsons. Stay alert, she's still out there. The family tightened security. The boy stayed inside, but something felt off, too quiet, too calm until the dog started barking at night, every night at 2:14 a.m. Always the same time, every single night. Ethan decided to stay over. He set up cameras, infrared motion hidden. And what they caught? Left everyone frozen, a figure in the backyard just staring, never moving for 20 straight minutes every night. Same time, same spot, not breaking in, just watching like a ghost or a warning. They took it to the police again, and once again, the footage got lost. Error in transfer. Mama was done being silent. She called the press, held a conference, cried on national TV. Stop protecting racism, stop protecting fear. My family matters too. The city responded, a new task force was formed. Ethan was appointed legal rep. The Johnsons were given a security detail and the mayor. He promised change, promised justice, but one person wasn't happy. Mrs. Carolyn, and she wasn't done yet the very next day. The Johnsons' front yard was set on fire. A small fire controlled symbolic in the shape of a cross, and beneath it, a doll painted black with a noose around its neck. This wasn't just harassment anymore. It was a threat, a hate crime. But what the police did next shocked everyone. They arrested Mr. Johnson, claimed he staged it for attention, said he was playing victim. The family begged for help, but they were alone. Ethan fought, demanded evidence. And what he found was the biggest twist yet, a deleted 911 call recovered from a backup server voice print. Matched it was her, Mrs. Carolyn, calling in the fire, describing it before it even happened, saying there's going to be a situation at the Black House. The proof was undeniable. It blew the case wide open. But just when it seemed like justice would finally win, Ethan vanished. No calls, no texts, just gone. And his car, found 3 days later, burned out, no sign of him inside. Just one thing left behind, his laptop melted, but the hard drive still intact and on it. One final video, a message to the Johnsons. I found something big about Carolyn, about the department. I think they're watching me. If anything happens to me, don't stop fighting. Whatever you do, don't trust anyone in uniform. They wanted her scared. They wanted her silent. They wanted her gone. But Mama Johnson wasn't backing down. Not now, not after everything. Not after Ethan, not after the fake complaints, the guns, the lies, the cross on the lawn. The photo of their new home, that photo changed everything. She held it in her hands, stared at it for hours. Then she stood up straight, strong, and said 6 words. They messed with the wrong mother. She made a call to the press, to every outlet, CNN, MSNBC, YouTube, TikTok. She told the whole story. All of it, no filter. She called names, showed faces, played tapes. She risked her life. Again, but this time, the world listened. The hashtag blew up, number justice. For the Johnsons, millions reposted, celebrities spoke out. Lawyers offered help, activists organized rallies, even politicians weighed in. But the FBI, silent. They didn't like the spotlight, too many eyes, too much heat. The Johnsons were placed in federal protection, secret location, new phones, new IDs, but Mama didn't stop there. She launched a class action suit, not just for her, but for every Black family targeted. All 6 others came forward one by one, each with a story, each with trauma, each with proof. The case exploded. Project Clean Slate hit front pages. It was the biggest racial discrimination scandal in decades. Congress demanded hearings. The DOJ opened investigations, and then the chief was caught in Mexico. Fake passport, fake name, real coward. He tried to deny everything but the files Ethan saved. Bulletproof wire transfers, emails, phone records. It was over. The chief was indicted, so was Carolyn and 4 officers, all federally charged: corruption, civil rights violations, conspiracy. The courtroom was packed. Mama stood and testified, voice steady, eyes sharp. She told them how her son was treated like a threat, how her husband was arrested for nothing, how they were hunted for being black, and when she finished, the room stood up, even the judge, even the jury. It was history. The verdict came fast. Guilty on all counts. The chief got 22 years. Carolyn got 15. The officers got 10. Each Westfield Ventures was dismantled, fined over $100 million. Every family they displaced got settlements, new homes, apologies. But the Johnsons, they got more than money. They got justice, they got respect, and most of all, they got to breathe again. Their son smiled, laughed, played basketball again. No sirens, no fear. Mama started a foundation. Watch the Block, free legal, help for families facing racial harassment. She speaks at schools, churches, Capitol Hill. She became the face of the fight. She never asked for it, but she earned it. And Ethan, he was found alive, weak but alive, locked in a basement for 4 weeks. Drugged, watched silence, but he escaped. And when he saw Mama, he cried, "I'm sorry." He whispered, "I was part of it, and you saved me." She hugged him tight and said, "You saved us too." Together, they built something new, a movement, a truth, and a warning. Because racism doesn't knock, it breaks down doors. But Mama Johnson, she built hers back stronger, bulletproof, and painted it red for the blood they tried to spill for the fight. She survived for every voice they tried to silence, and above the door, she hung a plaque, 6 words, bold, unshaken words her son helped choose. "We are here and we belong." And on the anniversary of the raid, Mama stood on the courthouse steps with her son, her husband Ethan, the other families, and hundreds more. She raised the mic, looked into the camera, and left one final note. If you're watching this and scared, know this: they may have power, but we have proof. And the truth always finds the light. The end. Follow True Crime Mart for more raw stories of pain, power, and justice. This one was for every family who's ever been told to leave.